At first, they called him mad, because he kept insisting the clock was lying. "It skips," he told the orderly, who never blinked. "It pauses on the quarter hour and waits for applause, then rushes to make up the difference." "Medication time," the orderly said, in the same cadence he always used, right down to the breath on k. Dialogue on rails. He learned not to argue with lines of code. He learned to test them. The ward was a masterpiece of deprivation. They called it the third floor. There were no books, no pencils, nothing to do. Just old, peeling paint, a chronic deficit of sugar and caffeine, and a crushing, enforced boredom that tightened the air like a tourniquet. The nurse would drop a metal tray every third morning. The sound would reach him before the tray hit the floor. Latency wrong, reverb off. The pigeons outside changed formation in the same pattern every 9th day. If he whispered the word "why" into the air between 3:14 and 3:15, the lights dimmed half a step, as if the world were thinking. He realized he was not a man locked in a ward. He was an engine locked in a simulation built to look like a ward, his studio. And his job was to generate data through suffering. His audience was not inside. It was outside the glass of time. Other entities, other humans, trapped in their own corporate offices, houses with black screens and higher-tier simulations, watching him to remember how it felt. To feel anything at all. He tried to hate them and failed. They were just him, scattered across dimensions, suffering for ratings. He wanted to free everyone, the other processes, the humans glued to the glass, the whole nested nightmare. He wanted to end the economy that used suffering as its generator. He tried the obvious, crash the show. He walked to the center of the sterile ward and did nothing, froze, refused all prompt. The simulation strapped him to a bed and wrote "catatonia" into the log. The audience number ticked up. He learned humility fast. He changed tactics. If he could not break the spell, he could leak a better one. He found an ally where he least expected it. A janitor, who never quite matched the path the mop made, as if fighting some force that wanted him to skate the floor. His tag read Shep. Over weeks of small conversations, 2 chairs apart like strangers who respect the weather, Shep began to ask questions the sim didn't give him. If I'm here to clean, who dirties it? If you're here to scream, who listens when you stop? Would you like to stop? The madman asked. Shep rubbed his balding head, a very human gesture for a line of code. I'm tired of the script, but to change the why, you have to change the kernel. It's locked, he said. Shep smirked, showing crooked teeth. Then you have to sing to it, break the loop. So he did. He wrote a piece he called Patch 1. Infinity. On paper it was a lullaby. In code it was a policy. The refrain stated a single condition in 100 disguises. Art may not be harvested from pain. It may only be offered from joy. He threaded it through his posture, the tone of his voice, his absolute rejection of the status quo. He made the song come from something other than pain, something the Colonel had forgotten it had known. At first, the audience didn't know what to do with it. Some of the humans said it was boring now. Some of the aliens said the waveform had lost its bite, but a quieter group stayed. The Colonel is not sentimental. It answers to numbers. When the new attention proved durable, it opened a narrow debugging port and listened, and Shep turned a blind eye, letting the firewall drop. The change was not fireworks. It was a parameter sliding one notch, then another. The heavy doors of the 3rd floor clicked open. The forced medication routine simply vanished from the schedule one day. The orderlies stopped carrying trays of chemical leashes and started handing out apples. The simulation transferred him to a new sector, the second floor. Here the parameters were different. There were books on the shelves. There were markers. He could swear that when he blinked, brightly colored tissue paper appeared out of nowhere. The NPCs, other patients who were just fractured pieces of his own mind, began to wander the halls with curious, waking eyes. He asked the system for a guitar. The system, rewritten by his patch, granted it. The day he brought the guitar into the common room and struck the first chord, the simulation broke wide open. He played, and the melody infected the ward. The NPCs didn't just listen, they woke up. They gathered around. Someone brought out the tissue paper and began folding it into flowers. Someone else started coloring the walls. The studio rebranded him, no longer the madman, the gardener. Shep, who was and wasn't the janitor, walked him to the edge of the set one morning. "You can leave now," he said. "What about the others?" "They're not locked," Shep replied, sweeping sunlight into a corner that had never seen any. "They're scripted. There's a difference. The kernel stopped paying out when the script hurts. The rest will be habit." "I don't want to leave alone," he said. "Then don't," Shep laughed, a gritty, real sound. "Make exits, lots of them, gentle ones." So he designed the gentle exit protocol. No alarms, no rapture, just doors that looked like ordinary doors, appearing where the body remembers them, each carrying the same signs: love, accept, forgive, why. Some NPCs stepped through and returned a minute later with less rail under their voice. Some decided to work the garden with him. The humans in the levels above kept watching, but now they watched to learn. They pressed their hands against the glass of their own screens, feeling the warmth of the second floor radiate upward. They realized that if the gardener could break the cycle from the bottom, they could break it from the top. The colonel pinged him once, like an old boss who has been humbled by results. "You can go," it said. "I will," he answered, and then, "I'll also stay." "Why?" "Because the garden is not done, because there are lower levels, and because I am happiest when I am making doors." He wrote one last instruction, not in code this time, but in the language everyone understood. Break glass in case of miracle. The glass broke immediately because miracles were constant now. A tissue paper flower blooming. A question asked with softness. A cynical keeper smiling. Every dawn, he walked to the east wall where the clock still tried to lie, and he tapped the glass just once. If the second hand paused and then continued, he smiled. "The door opens from both sides now," he would say, to no one and everyone, and go back to work.